Few expected her to stand out the way she did. Welcome to the Channel Star Spotlight. In an industry often defined by larger-than-life personas, Anna Kendrick built her presence in a way that quietly challenged expectations. Many remember her quick wit, her unmistakable voice, and her memorable performances. But what is less often discussed is how something seemingly simple, her physical stature, became part of a much larger story. At first glance, it may not seem like a defining trait. Yet in Hollywood, where image can shape opportunity, even the smallest details can influence perception. And for Anna Kendrick, this became an unexpected talking point that followed her throughout her career. She did not enter the spotlight through traditional blockbuster paths. Instead, her early years were rooted in theater. As a child performer, she appeared on Broadway, earning recognition at a remarkably young age. This early exposure shaped her discipline and gave her a strong foundation that would later support her transition into film. But as she moved into on-screen roles, something subtle began to emerge. Compared to many of her peers, Kendrick's petite height stood out. In an industry where visual presence is often associated with dominance or authority, this contrast could have easily become a limitation. Instead, it became part of her identity. Her breakout role in Up in the Air introduced her to a wider audience. Acting alongside seasoned performers, she delivered a performance that felt grounded and authentic. It was not her size that defined the moment, but the emotional depth she brought to the screen. Still, audiences noticed the contrast. Standing beside taller co-stars, her presence created a unique dynamic. What could have been perceived as a disadvantage slowly transformed into a point of distinction. Then came Pitch Perfect, a film that would redefine her public image. Here, Kendrick's stature played into her character in a different way. She was relatable, approachable, and real. The film's success turned her into a household name, and her physical presence became part of the charm audiences connected with. What many did not realize was how intentional her career choices were becoming. Rather than pursuing roles that required her to fit a conventional mold, she leaned into characters that embraced individuality. This approach allowed her to stand out in a crowded industry without needing to conform. It is often said that Hollywood rewards uniformity. But Kendrick's journey suggests something different. Behind the scenes, she maintained a thoughtful perspective on fame. Known for her candid interviews, she often spoke about the realities of the industry with honesty and humor. She did not present herself as larger than life. Instead, she remained grounded, which only strengthened her connection with audiences. There is also a lesser-known aspect of her success. Voice work and musical performances allowed her to transcend physical limitations entirely. In these spaces, talent alone carried the experience. Her voice became instantly recognizable, further expanding her reach beyond traditional acting roles. Yet, like many public figures, her journey was not without internal challenges. Balancing public perception with personal identity can be complex. For Kendrick, navigating an industry that often emphasizes appearance required quiet resilience. She did not openly frame it as a struggle, but her choices reflected a consistent commitment to authenticity. Over time, the conversation around her size shifted. What began as a point of curiosity evolved into something more meaningful. It became a reminder that presence is not defined by physical dimensions, but by impact. Her performances, her voice, and her personality carried a weight that far exceeded any superficial measure. Today, Anna Kendrick's legacy is not tied to how she compares physically to others. Instead, it rests on the consistency of her work, the relatability of her characters, and the quiet confidence she brings to every role. She represents a different kind of success, one built on substance rather than scale. And perhaps that is what continues to resonate most. Not the contrast, but the authenticity. As you reflect on her journey, it raises an interesting thought. How often do we measure presence by the wrong standards? If this story offered a new perspective, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. You can also like the video if you found it meaningful, and subscribe to Star Spotlight for more thoughtful stories like this.